Welcome to Video Game Expertise. This episode is going to touch on the state of video games today, the hottest new systems, and the biggest games. What's going on in the world of video games? You think you know video games? You don't know jack shit! Video games, video games, video games, video game expertise! Woo! Are the big boys back? Or are the little dogs nipping at their buds? They're not, because they can't stand to them. The drought in big games. That's right. There's a lot of video games being released, but not by the big boys. We gotta see those big boys make a comeback. We're not talking about your small, low-level studios like Ubisoft and whatever. We're talking about the big boys, Nintendo, who honestly are putting out a solid selection of games. But you've got PlayStation, Sony. What are they putting out? Nothing big. It's time to go to those vaults. What do you mean, vaults? Well, there are many places where games are put when they're no longer in use, or they're made in advance and prepped for a big release. It's time to open those vaults up and drain them out. We've asked for Gorf to be released from the vault, but we've got more. How come there's not a new Simpsons game? Or better yet, an old Simpsons game. Re-release, and then we don't have to play it. Because if you think about it, there's so many games. The fewer released, the better. So it's time to slow our roll and release the best of the best. I suggest a restriction to 1 new video game per company per year. The rest should be re-releases of the hottest, most action-packed, and exciting games from the past. And as far as newer companies, these low levels, they better stick with a single game as well and just hope that they can compete. My understanding, a lot of their devs are lazy. They all work half-day shifts, 3 days a week, and then just relax and kick up their boots and chat it up. We want hard-working developers. And the game testers are getting a little lazy as well. Playing video games? Howard Phillips will show you how it's done. That was the game master. These guys, no clue what they're doing. It's time to lengthen those work weeks and tighten up that work. To it, boys! Capcom, Konami, all the greats, you better be pumping out those old games. And I do mean video games. Halo, hit the bricks. We've got enough sports titles. Let's get some good stuff from Mattel, Intellivision, ColecoVision, and all the bulls of the old days. Magnavox, let's see you back. And how about the Fairchild Channel F with a re-release of all the classic games? But there's somebody I've left out. Sega. Guess what? All hope is not lost. Word is, Sega is creating a new console. Now, we all know their last console, the Dreamcast, was sabotaged by Microsoft, Bill Gates, and his hungry desire to destroy video games and replace them with computer games. The Dreamcast itself was transformed and modified into the Xbox 360, which is how Microsoft had a video game console. It was really the Dreamcast in disguise. As we know, their first console, the Xbox, was just a PC in a box and not a video game console, and everything they've done since has not been video games, so they couldn't do it on their own. Only by stealing from Sega could they make a mark in the game industry. Sad, sad state for Sega being forced to make these PC games for Microsoft. For every real great game they made, like Alan Wake, they made tons of fake ones like Halo and Mass Effect. We're done with the sports titles, please. let's move on. Time for more Sonic the Hedgehog and his pals. And this time, how about we keep them alive, guys? Keep at it. What will Sega's new console be like? It's all up to speculation at this point, but I've got some insider news. Let's just say it's going to have both a cartridge slot and a CD drive, combining everything everybody loves about video games. None of this virtual reality nonsense, which is not video games. It's going to have 3D the way it should. Virtual Boy style. What's the future hold? Bring back the red and black. Boys, Nintendo! And they're going to get rid of that Xbox style controller.
Boys,
Nobody wants that garbage.
Boys,
get a controller that fits your hand nice and smooth and doesn't break your fingers.
Nintendo!
Or electrocute you or poison you.
The big boys!
Will the other console makers be able to keep up? We'll see. Sony looks to be releasing the PS4 soon. Hopefully it won't end up like their last system, the PS Vita, which ended up being a complete disaster and the biggest mistake in the history of Sony. But that's a story for another day. And that day is now. Tried to make a video game system that was all online and didn't actually use games? Well, I hate to tell you this, but that's not a video game system. Handheld or not, you can't be downloading games. You gotta put them in. That's how you play video games. On the Nintendo end, they've been pretty much flawless. So it looks like we'll soon have the big three back together again. Sony, Sega, and Nintendo. And with Atari and Intellivision making new games and systems, we can't lose.
The big boys!